Today, what I really want to talk about is not so much interview technique. I want to look at it from a slightly higher level and a slightly more philosophical place, which is, what is an interview? Sometimes people take a long time defining what an interview is. You know, they consign it as a bit of a dark art to human resources or to psychologists, and they tend to overthink it. In the world I operate in sales hiring, there's a really simple way of viewing what an interview is. An interview is a two-way process in which both parties go out and go through the procurement process of buying a revenue generation system. So buying a revenue generation system, whether you're a candidate going for a job or whether you're a sales leader hiring a salesperson, it's amongst probably the most mission critical procurement decisions you're ever going to make in your life. So therefore it follows that it's an extremely strategic, as marketeers would call, very high involvement decision that you've got to make. It's going to require a lot of thought and a lot of due diligence. But there's an irony in this. And that irony is that whilst it's a massive mission critical procurement decision for both parties, it's normally done over a very short period of time, and it's normally done in a very tactical rather than strategic way by both parties. And what I mean by that is, let's just say you're selling a multi-million-dollar software solution to a company. It might take you 18 months. There might be 18 different buying influences in the procurement. It may be incredibly complex. The contract negotiations are going to be complex. But actually, if an organization is buying a revenue generation system that could potentially make or break it next year, they normally only do it over maybe 1 or 2 weeks, with maybe 2, maximum 3 people involved in the purchase process. So sometimes the candidates I find who do really, really well in the interview process are the ones who lock into that initial philosophy and concept that whilst they themselves are highly sophisticated strategic sales animals, they realize that when they're going for jobs, they're involved in what in many respects is a very simple tactical sales process, and they treat the recruitment game accordingly. So the other thing to remember is that whilst this is the single biggest, most mission critical procurement either party is actually making for either party's business at that point in time, and it might be that massive, the thing that I find really good candidates in the interview game remember is that they remember that each party is actually very frightened. The sales guy who's looking for a new revenue generation solution, he's frightened because the reality is it's the difference between earning 60 or 120 or 70 and 140 or 80 or 160,000 pounds next year. That's a big difference, it's big stakes. And equally, I think something that a lot of the candidates forget is that the hiring managers are frightened. You know, I had one client once say to me that getting it right or getting it wrong is the difference between Benidorm and Barbados. And what he meant by that was, he said, I've got 8 guys on the road, each one of them is worth about £10,000 to me next year in terms of my annual target achievement. So if I get it right, I make 10 grand. If I get it wrong, you know, I'm choosing a different holiday and I'm buying different Christmas presents. And as he said, it's the difference between Barbados and Benidorm. So for me, the candidates that do really well into the interview game, it's not just about your track record, your CV. It's about working out that the other guy, the guy that's interviewing you, is as nervous as you are about being the idiot that hired the idiot, about not earning the sort of bonus level he wants to earn because he's hired you, and they lock into that fact. And equally, the clients need to lock into the fact that it's an unnerving experience for candidates too. So what are the clients really frightened of, and what's really on the mind? Well, the thing that a lot of clients say to me is, every candidate walks into an interview room with me and tells me he's really good at what he does. But how many of them can actually prove it? And equally, what are the candidates frightened of? Well, every candidate's frightened that every employer they meet tells them that the job's fantastic, the marketing's great, the leads are wonderful, but how many of them can actually prove that they can earn the money? So there's a lot to think about here before we even get into how to play the interview game, how to run an interview itself, what to say, how to prepare. And there are 3 key stages of the interview game that I'm going to talk about over another pint with you on another day.